Hi everyone, this is Susan, and I don't think that I've ever done a Facebook Live in Philip's chair. So it's like a supersized lazy boy for the tall and enlarged, and I don't enlarge. I'm not saying that my husband is enlarged. He's just tall. And so it's taller and wider, and so I feel like sometimes it just overtakes me, but for the sake of getting on and starting a Facebook Live, I decided this was the cleanest place in my house and I didn't have to rearrange anything that was behind me. So we had youth here last night, so it was great and clean and company ready at 7 o'clock, and now I think it just still needs a little bit more love. So I am about 15 minutes late for my Facebook Live because Jennifer had a dentist appointment this morning and then got car sick on the way home. So we had to sit in the school parking lot with all the windows down for a bit while she recovered from the drive. And so I am late today. I apologize. I'm working very hard to get on at 10:15 every morning. So don't lose hope. I will be back next Tuesday at 10:15. So are you tired of my stories yet? I hope you're not tired of my stories because I still have a few more. But today I'm talking about straight paths. And in this series of Tell, I am going over different stories in my life where I've seen the hand of God navigate my circumstances, my situations, my relationships, closed doors, open doors, where I knew that God was working behind the scenes in ways that I couldn't understand, or that I did not see or realize while it was going on. And I think that it is so important to share our stories and to tell our stories because everyone has a story. And I'm encouraging you just to learn to recognize how God is navigating your circumstances, that He's navigating your family, that He is navigating the details. I am a full believer that God is in the details, that things are not done by happenstance. They're not flukes. They're not, coincidence. Like, I believe that there are things that happen in my life every day that are positioning me for influence with the people around me, that gives me opportunity to shine His light in difficulties, that gives me an opportunity to bring His presence into the school, into the neighborhood. And these stories for me they're more than just, talking of a fairy tale, but it's more that recognizing how God has navigated my life where I can completely, to this day, trust Him with what is happening. I'm not saying that trust is easy, because there are some things that I encounter or that I deal with that are still difficult, but there is an underlying faith and a belief in everything that I deal with, that I know that He sees all and that He is navigating circumstances for His light to shine through me. So for me, this is a story. It's called Straight Paths. When Philip and I moved to this area where we are right now, shortly after moving here, we had a baby and we had our youngest son. His name is Lincoln. And we had started going to a church, but I seriously enjoyed the benefits of not being known while having my last child, because it allowed me the opportunity to really sit back. I didn't have any responsibilities. I had no leadership role whatsoever in any area. And shortly after, maybe after I went back, because this time, I think I took 3 months after I had Lincoln and hung out at home on Sunday mornings before I got back involved in church. Not that I'm advocating anyone should sit out of church for 3 months, but it was nice that I could actually fit into my regular clothes when I went back. So, I went back into the church, and shortly after getting back into the church, I was asked to participate in a Bible study. And at first, I told my husband, like, I am not interested in going to a women's Bible study. Like, I hate to say this, like, I'm done. Like, I'm done being vulnerable. I'm done. Like, I really want to be to myself. I don't want to get involved in leadership. I really want to just lay low. But at the same time, I was saying, okay, Lord, I give you permission to navigate the circumstances, to place me where you want me, and, and to grow and to be the woman that you want me to be. But on the other side, my flesh was saying, I am not interested in leadership. I'm not interested in putting myself out there, being vulnerable, or anything like that. And through a series of events in a very short period of time, in 6 months, I went from just attending that Bible study to bringing that Bible study back into my home, then ended up leading the Bible study, and a few months after that, ended up being offered the position for women's ministry at the church that we were attending. And I remember talking with Philip and saying, like, not really sure, like, if this was going to work for my family and if this was going to work for my kids and what we were going to do and all the details that needed to happen in this. And this is a sidebar. At the same time, while all of this is going on at the church, I have met somebody. Her name was Elizabeth, she's still around. Her name is Elizabeth, and she is a dear friend of mine. And we became friends at the pool. Like, we never even met at church. I didn't even know who she was, and we ended up meeting over swim lessons on the side, not even at the church. And through that relationship, I had learned that she had also been involved in women's ministry in the past and was pretty much saying the same thing. She was saying, to the Lord, I love you. I want to serve you however you want, but I'm not interested in any kind of women's ministry leadership or anything like that. So when I was approached at coming on staff, I really felt in my heart that God was leading, that God not only was bringing me into this position of leadership, but that he had strategically introduced me to Elizabeth at the pool. And when I went to the church to interview for the job, and I said to the pastor at the time, I am willing to do this, but I'm not willing to do this by myself. And I was wondering if there was any way that we could bring Elizabeth in at the same time. And I can remember the look on his face, because like his eyes kind of got a little big, and he showed me his second list on the line, his second thing of, I don't want to say they were contingencies, but things for me to consider was I willing to allow Elizabeth to come and to work with me as a partnership for women's ministry. And it was so funny because, so often we could look at this, I met Elizabeth over here on the side and all of these things that were happening. But really, God had strategically put Elizabeth in my life at the pool. And that when I went in and met with Pastor Nick, and he brought her name in, it wasn't only confirmation to me that I was in the right place, but it was also confirmation to him, and it was a confirmation to Elizabeth. And when we worked together as a team, like that was a powerful partnership. And I enjoyed working with her. It was so much fun. She filled in all of the ways that I lacked, and vice versa. And working with someone when I knew that God placed us together, and I knew that God had a plan for us together in that season while we were in that church. And so often, that could have all been seen as just coincidence, but it wasn't. I was praying, she was praying, Pastor Nick was praying, and we were all praying for God to intervene, to open doors, to shut doors, and to lead us on his path, his straight path. And when we do that and we give God permission to move in our lives, amazing things, miraculous things happen. And so even carrying that over, just recently, someone asked me if I was interested in a job position. And Philip and I have been praying like, God, if this is a season where you want me to go back to work, make it clear, line things up, open doors. But if this isn't what you have for me, then shut the doors. And so I ended up just recently in the last month, I ended up applying for the position, and it was a panel interview. And I remember going into that interview and I was still a sort of apprehensive, thinking, I'm not really sure if this is what the Lord has for me. And through that interview, by the time I left that table, I knew that that was not the job for me. And so at first I was like, oh, because my friend had told me about the job and I felt a little awkward, like, maybe like, how do I navigate this? And so I started praying, like, if I knew that that job wasn't for me, then I was praying that they knew that I wasn't for that job. And so I started praying and just like, even before I got to my car in the parking lot, that God would just shut the door, completely shut the door, that there was no question that door was closed for me. And I have since then, like I told Philip, that isn't for me. And I actually just recently got an email back that said that I didn't get the job. And someone said, well, does that make you sad that you didn't get the job? And I said, no, I was totally, like, I was thrilled because I didn't have to have that awkward conversation of, oh, I'm sorry, thank you for interviewing me, but the job's not for me. But it was just confirmation that I was hearing that it wasn't for me, and that they were also closing the door. And, I could look at those situations as rejection, or I could look at those situations as the hand of God navigating me on his straight path. So I want to read a scripture for you, and it is Proverbs 3, 5 and 6. And it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. So often, like, we think, oh, I have enough common sense that I can make these little decisions and I can decide if I'm supposed to go back to work or if I'm supposed to work at a church or do a ministry or not do a ministry. But really, in all actuality, I need him every day to order my steps. I need him every day to shine a light so that I know that I'm doing what he wants me to do, because, there are so many things I'm able to do, but just because I'm able to do it doesn't mean that God wants me to do it. And so I find when I say yes to everything, because I am a yes sayer, I'm not saying that, that's a strength of mine. Actually, it's a weakness, is because I want everyone to be happy with me. And so I find myself in situations where I'm saying yes to people or ministries or jobs or positions when I really need to be saying no a little bit more. And so I need him, and I need his direction, and I need his clarity and his guidance. And I want to encourage you that if you're believing for something, and if you're hoping for God to navigate you, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, whether you're waiting for someone to marry, or you're hoping and praying for something for your children. But I would encourage you to bring those to the Lord, surrender those over to him, and ask him, Lord, close the doors that are not for me, open the doors that are. And take it a step further, is that these are the prayers that I pray for my children. I pray that my children would walk the straight and narrow road, that they would not turn to the left or the right, that they would walk forward in the things that God has for them. Because I know that the world wants them to be so busy and so overextended and so going in different directions that they're not able to focus in this time and this season on their relationship with Jesus. But I know that God is able. I know that he has equipped me to raise my children, but more than that he's given me prayers for them to help them stay on the straight path. So my encouragement for you is to take everything to him. Like, I'm not saying that we have to say, God, like, should I brush my teeth? I'm saying the decisions, Lord, like, shine a light to my step. Show me where you want me to go. Give me the words to speak. Show me the relationships that you want me to bring into my inner circle, and watch him move. But then the next thing is to recognize his miraculous hand, how he's networking things, how he's making things possible for you, how he's directing and guiding not only you, but your family and your loved ones. And then retell your story. Build other people's faith by having the courage to stand up and say that this wasn't a coincidence. This was God lining things up and using my life, using my relationships, using my friendships to make a difference for him. And I don't know how to end this, like, to bring it down. I'm so thankful that you're here watching today. My sister made it, Catherine, my mom's watching. So thank you for being my biggest family fan club. Gotta have good family. So, but appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you next week. And it'll be Tuesday at 10:15. I will talk to you soon. Love you guys.